So as some of you might have seen a while ago, I did a little install series on the install of the Stage 1 map for your Harley Sportster. I did promise you guys a little bit more in-depth series on the maps and so forth. So on this one, a lot of you probably experienced a lot of decel pop when letting go of your throttle. This is actually a common thing when fitting Stage 1 items, i.e. your exhaust, air filter and so forth, allowing more fuel air mixture to go through your bike. It doesn't really happen so much on a standard exhaust setup, it's mainly when you tune the engines. So if a lot of you think you've got a little bit too much pop and you want to calm that down a little bit, what I did is recently back from our little Scotland holiday, and noticed I had cut my decel pop down, which is mainly in second gear on decel, by at least 75%. So what I'm going to do is do a little variation on the map and bring those figures down a little bit more and show you how to do that. Okay, so let's fire away. Alright, so we're all plugged into the bike. And by the way, when you do this, you'll have to leave your ignition on. I leave mine plugged into the tender, and I use little Blue Point snap-on one. Ideal, connected to little mini Deutsch plugs. Works a treat for my bike. So anyway, here we go. On the laptop, Super Tuner software, which is free to download from Harley Davidson if you don't have it already. What happens a lot as well, I think I've explained this before, is when people purchase a bike, whether it's new with a Stage 1 kit or second hand, sometimes you get a little orange box, which is your tuner box, but don't get the leads, okay, to plug into your PC. But these are only about £35 from any Harley dealer, although getting hard to get hold of. Purely because, another little fact is that the Screaming Eagle tuner software, there was a big thing with Harley Davidson in the USA, making it illegal to fit for some other reasons or the other, big fines and everything else involved. So now I think the UK dealers now are going to different options of tuning software. But for those of you who run the Screaming Eagle software, here we go. This is how to do your maps. So you bring the page up. So the next thing to do is to switch your bike on. Okay, now she should be connected. Okay, so I can go to tune on motorcycle. Continue. Now my bike is a 2016 48. I recently did find the 2018 map on the updated map listings. Now if you install a 2018 map, it will say this may not be compatible with your motorcycle. Ignore that and carry on, because basically it's the same engine, it's just an updated map. So you can see here all your options. These are for the standard maps, and we have recent selections here. So what I'm going to do is to exit out of that. Let's have a look at setup. Let's make sure everything is where I want it to be. Back to tuning. And let's just manually select file. If you press manually select file, this brings you to all the maps in your database. For the purpose of this episode, what we'll do is we'll click on to 2016. If you drop down your list there, you'll find the year of your bike. Goes right back to 2001. So 2016, and for this occasion it's a Sportster. Obviously it brings up whichever bike you have there, but for our bike it's a Sportster 1 model 1200X. Standard O2 sensor. You've got optional selections here. Stage 1, different type of throttle bodies. 103 CIs, 1200 stage 1 is the basic one we'll use, even the XR CVOs, everything you want, 1250, all your different engines. But for the purpose of ours, it's a standard stage 1, which is on the available calibrations here for my bike. So we click on that. Now it doesn't give you a lot of options on this one, mainly for the Screaming Eagle stuff. I use Cobra slip-ons and an Allen Nest Big Sucker filter. But for this, that's all you really need. Give you a basic map, okay? So if we look down the list here, decel and Lehman, and that's the one we're looking for. Now, the reason we're getting that decel pop is, don't forget this is just a standard map. So for different variations of bike, there'll be different variations of popping on your decel with different bikes. So what we need to do is we need to sort of tune this really to each motorcycle to get the required amount of decel pop without being too much. Otherwise, it sounds as if someone's shooting at you. So what we'll do, go to the little arrow, and then here we'll have the last saved figures. Let's bring this up. Computer's been a little bit slow. Okay, so we have the last saved decel and Lehman off the standard map. And if you look there, you can see the engine temperature. So we go from -16 all the way up to 160. So if you look at those figures, 0.63, 62, 59, 55, 52, 50. Okay, ends at 50. Then, if you read on this column, deceleration and Lehman adjust transient fuel when the throttle is closed. Note, larger values cause more fuel to be removed. So, we want lesser value for less fuel to be removed, therefore hopefully try not to cause the combustion which causes your decel popping. Okay, so what we'll do, if you go to working, now what we should be able to do is adjust these figures. Okay, so we'll go ahead. So I'm not too worried about the -16.0 and 16, although we've got 3 at 0.63. So what we're going to do is adjust that one and go for 0.60 on that, and then we'll step down from there. Okay, 0, so we'll look point, and we'll do that one at 0.58. And that one we'll do at 0.55. And you see what we're doing is now we're just bringing them down a little bit more. But the higher the temperature goes, you want to bring them down a little bit more than say 0.3, 0.5. We want to eventually get to more or less half that by the time we get to 160. Okay. Okay, so I brought my figures down and I'm more or less half on the bottom column at 160 at 0.28, and before previously she was 0.50. Okay. And just as a comparison, you can see it there. So I'm happy to give that one a try, and we will give the bike a test run after this. So now we'll just go to program motorcycle. Okay, file name, change, you want to save the changes to this file. Okay, you can't send the calibration to the motorcycle until changes have been saved. Okay, so we'll go ahead. What I'm going to do now is save that file, tuning files, and I'll just put a little note on that for September. September the 22nd. Okay, so now I have that in my file as my latest map, and now it's telling me to program with the final calibration. So sit back, have a brew, and see what happens. Nearly at the end of it now, 72%. Okay. Calibrating vehicle. So of course all this is doing now is sending my new program map down through the sept and into the bike. Anyway, back to the software, update completed, 100%, continue, programming complete, your finalised calibration has been programmed to the motorcycle. A custom calibration is now installed. You can repeat this process as many times as you would like to refine your calibration. So, when I take this out for a test ride in a bit and I find that I've still got too much pop in on that map, obviously this is now a different map to what I used for Scotland, so we've completely put a new map in and I've half the values and took them down probably 10% more. So this will be interesting to see how much we've cured the problem. With my bike, not so much with others, but I find that a varied few have a lot more diesel pop than others, depending on what exhaust you may have fitted to your bike. Again, like I said, I have the Cobra slip-ons, okay, onto the standard pipe. Now, I believe that if I had maybe a 2-to-1 system or something a little bit more free-flowing, you wouldn't get as much as others. Maybe with the Cobras, the full system, that might cure it. And again, if you've got short shots, they seem to have maybe a completely different sound and feel to them and don't have the same level of pop than I do, and that I've noticed on this bike, which is why I'm tuning this to the level that I'm happy with. A little bit of pop, not a problem, is part of the process of having the bike, but with this one there, it feels like I'm shooting the neighbours every time I come down in second gear. So it'll be interesting to see now how this map fares. Stay with me.